Deep in the heart of the DJC Collectibles studio, I'm Midwest professional wrestling legend, Gage Octane. And now, the new owner of the Double Cross Ranch, Kyle Peterson.
Welcome, everybody. Kyle here, back for episode 9 of the Kyle Peterson Show. And as usual, got the beautiful co-host, got my wife, Angie. Angie, say hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Hello, Angie. Good to have you back here for a wild ride, episode number 9. We're almost to episode 10. Can you believe that? By my math and my count, next week will be episode 10 since we're at episode 9 right now. I use my fingers here. After that, it's going to get a little crazy. I'll need your help.
You just got to start over then.
Just got to start. And that's where it gets confusing. So we'll see if we can figure that out. But I'm sure some of the viewers or, of course, the audio listeners out there will probably help us with the numbering in the future if we need some help.
I'll just count with my finger toes.
There you go. Like Todd McFarlane counting off his toes. That's what we're doing. But we're back with episode 9 of the Kyle Peterson Show. And as most people are watching this, obviously, once again, if you're a YouTube channel member or Patreon member, you do get the video cast a lot earlier than, of course, the traditional means. But however you're listening, we do appreciate it there. Mm-hmm. But as a lot of people are listening here, it is Tuesday. It is the day after Memorial Day. So hopefully everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you got a lot of stuff done to the official kickoff to summer, as it's known in some circles. And Angie, I know it as one of the busiest weeks of the year for me in my work life. So a very, very busy week for me at work. So I'm a little bit beat up and a little bit stressed out this week. That's the way it goes. But no rest for the wicked should be a motto for the channel. I'll have to get a t-shirt that says that maybe. And I'm here for episode 9. And Angie's here as well. Always my partner in crime. And Angie looking extra good. Looking only like she could look this week on the channel here. Looking real good, Angie. Thanks, yeah. So Angie, what's new with you?
Oh my God.
I always like to put her on the spot and say, so what's new with you? But first,
new? We're almost wrapping up the school year. Crazy.
School year, yeah. I'm hoping to graduate 6th grade this year. I hope it happens. I feel like it will. But before we get into that, let's get some housekeeping done, and then we'll recap of the week that was around here. But got to thank us first, DJC Collectibles. Use discount code 8OFFDJC to save 8% off your entire order. Sponsors of the podcast. Appreciate them as well. And of course, Angie, I don't know if you've heard about this book, and I figured I'd plug it. You know why I wanted to plug it?
I do.
Why?
Tell them.
No, you tell them. You got to tell them. Why do I got to plug this book?
Because no one else will.
Because no one else will. Angie won't even do a post on social media supporting the book. She doesn't even want to do it, but I am. It is the complete guide to the ECW original San Francisco toy makers, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Paperback, hardcover edition available, and I do still have some copies left, and we will give away one of those copies later in this very video, audio podcast, of course, at the end. But if you need an autographed edition, reach out to me. We'll get you a hardcover or softcover edition. Pick your poison is what we do say.
We like it hard.
Yeah, Angie does like it hard. That's very true. No soft there. Patreon channel memberships, mentioned it earlier, but if you want early access to the video cast version of this podcast, check out the Patreon, of course, link in the description down below, plus all the other videos between both YouTube channels. A lot of stuff going on every single day. And then Angie, hopefully Angie will come to this, but Des Moines Con. Angie, you've heard of San Diego Comic-Con. You've heard of New York Comic-Con, but right in the middle, right down the middle, Daddy, is Des Moines Con. Of course, right in the middle of the United States. I would recommend flying in for it. But on Saturday the 31st, I will be part of an action figure panel at Des Moines Con. So yeah, you can all meet me, hang out with me, do whatever you want to do, but I will be there. So maybe we'll try to film it or something. I don't know if that'll be possible or not. Hopefully Angie will come. Trying to get my dad to come out, but he's not interested, is what he did say. So we won't. But Des Moines Con.
He's got to mow.
Yeah, he's got to mow the yard for the 100th time already, I think, is what he's going to do. But Des Moines Con, Saturday, May 31st. I think it starts the 30th, 31st, and maybe June 1st, or the 3 days. I will only be there on the 31st. So if you find me, come say hello and maybe say hello to Angie.
I'll be all 3 days.
Angie will be there all 3 days. That's right. You got your own table, I think, is what I heard.
Open to close.
Yeah, good for you, Angie. Good for you. We're really getting out there. I like to see it. Love to see it there.
I'm going to just be selling the book then.
Yeah, she's going to be selling the book. She'll be working the table. It'll work out really good. It'll be really good. So come say hello, Angie.
I'll work the whole room.
She'll be working the room. That's right. Going table to table and saying, hey, Vincent D'Onofrio, do you have any interest in buying this book? I know you're doing pictures as the Kingpin, but hey, why not? But Angie, as we were saying, it is the kickoff to summer Memorial Day weekend, so hopefully everybody's kicking off their summer right. I'm going to be doing a lot of action figure unboxings. Our good friends over there at Jay's Toys and Games got a big sale going on, so I'll probably hit up there. 3 stores, 3 locations in this area. What else? Anything else going on? I don't think so. I don't think there's a whole lot going on. Hopefully my phone doesn't ring off the hook all weekend and get a little peace and quiet, recharge the batteries, get ready for the summer. And speaking of mowing, I definitely got to mow. So like a lot of people, probably got to do some more yard work, get your yard ready for summer. It's Memorial Day. It's not the 4th of July, but it's similar but different. Kind of. You get a day off, hopefully, on Monday. But that's what's going on there. But I did get some messages, Angie. We did say we were going to this new macaroni and cheese place. And I wrote it down, I think, is what it was called. It was like Ronies.
It's just Ronies, yeah.
Ronies?
Ronies, I think.
Yeah, like pepperoni, but macaroni. We like the Ronies. Either way. But it was macaronis or Ronies, just Ronies Mac Bar, I think it was what it was called. Apparently it's some like viral sensation, online presence, all this kind of stuff. And we went there, and it was in my old campus of my college, university I graduated to. And Angie and I spent a lot of time at back in the day. And Angie and I are going to reminisce later on in this very video in one of the segments. So stay tuned to that. Stay tuned to that. But we went to the Ronies Mac Bar there, and we took the kids, and everybody got it. And I seemingly liked it the best of the whole family. I don't think everybody else ate it, but I think I was the one that enjoyed it. I don't know.
I think the kids didn't like the noodles or something. They were kind of like whole grain, kind of harder, not...
Yeah, I don't know. Or no, it was the cheese. It was kind of a grainy cheese when it was melted into the mac and cheese.
I ate my whole thing, but it was almost too much cheese for me.
I ate all mine. I had no problems. And this place, to put you in the spirit, was like a Chipotle or a Subway, basically. So, okay, you get your macaroni noodle, and then they had like cheddar, Gouda, and what was the other cheese? There was like a couple of cheeses you could
like
choose
Colby
from.
or
Colby, or it was like a pepper jack or something.
There you go.
So you could choose your melted cheese on your noodles. And then you could obviously get more cheese sprinkled on top if you wanted to, if you wanted some extra cheese.
Well, that was the top cheese that you picked. So it's like
Gotcha.
traditional macaroni, and then you get the more cheese on top. So I wished I just subbed that out.
Yeah, wow.
Because it was too cheesy.
Too cheesy for Angie.
And it was expensive.
Cheese me if you want to please me.
Everything you add on is an upcharge. So
yeah,
there's like a base charge in that.
Of course. You get plain macaroni, it is what it is, but then you got to add everything.
So it's like, it was like $15 per
yeah, it was like
person.
15 a person. So you got a little
it was
macaroni.
Pretty big. It was like...
Yeah, and it came in a little aluminum tin thing or whatever. So it was macaroni, and then you got the cheese, the multiple cheeses. I got diced jalapenos in mine. I got breadcrumbs, a little garnish of breadcrumbs over the top. I got the brisket. Yeah, the barbecue brisket. I got barbecue sauce over the top. And I enjoyed mine. Then I think they put it all together, and then they put it in like an oven or something and kind of...
But not long enough.
Crisp it up. I don't know. I thought it was good
Mine
for
wasn't
me.
melted enough.
Angie wanted it more melty, of course. So... we did go there. I'd recommend trying it at least once. Try everything once, right, Angie? That's Angie's motto in life. Try everything at least one time. And some things that most people wouldn't want to try multiple times. Multiple times every day. Who knows? But it was good. So that was the highlight of last weekend and doing some shopping and stuff like that. But we did try.
We got a donut afterwards.
And then we got a donut that was absolutely god-awful and terrible. I've never had a Dunkin' donut in my entire life. Can you believe that? I've never been going to Dunkin'. I'm just not a Dunkin' guy. I'm not even really a Krispy Kreme guy. I'm just not a donut guy, I guess. Maybe. I'm not a big desserts person. But we did go to Dunkin' Donuts. Angie felt bad because we parked in their parking lot.
They had a private lot across the street, and we parked there, and I felt guilty.
You know, Kyle, I got to get a deal. You think I'm going to pay that 75 cents to park? I'm parking in the Dunkin' Donuts lot. I'll risk being towed. I'll do it.
So we bought some stale donuts to make up
So we got some donuts, and the first thing is at 7 o'clock at night or whatever, you don't get some donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. They're not going to be the freshest donuts. I wanted a jelly-filled donut is what I was looking for. Some like raspberry inside. And of course, they were all out. Why wouldn't they be? It's probably the most popular. Of course, my choices always are. And then they threw in some like little donut holes with jelly, but I didn't taste any jelly in them. I had about 2, and I said, I don't want these. And the kids were like, I'll take them. And they took them. And they took them. Yeah, that's right. So
garbage disposals.
Shout out to Dunkin' Donuts. Not really. Not very good. I was just not feeling the Dunkin'. I'm just not feeling it.
I got that Boston cream.
Oh, yeah.
You know I like it.
You knew you loved all that cream. I knew you would. That Boston cream. Give her the Bavarian cream. Give her any kind of cream. She'll take it. Take her. You got the Bavarian or Boston? Or both? Give her all the cream. I don't know.
I can't remember.
I don't either. Either way, you were a happy camper. Happy camper getting all that in there for sure.
It was just like on my lips.
Just all over. It was a mess. It was just a mess. Keep it in your mouth, Angie. But yeah, that was the week. So really exciting stuff. I think a lot of people can relate. Not all the weeks are the most exciting, that's for sure. So interesting times, of course. But now, Angie, we got a lot of segments here. We got a lot of stuff to digest. And let's start it off with a little retail 101, we'll call it. God. We're going to do a little deeper dive. We're going to talk something that's coming up a lot over the last week for a lot of collectors. We're talking surge pricing. it's time for a deeper dive. And Angie, feel free to chime in wherever you want on this one. I know this is going to be riveting to you, but this one is about a little bit more than action figure collecting, but primarily for this example, action figure collecting. And in a deeper dive, we usually dive into a topic or a segment that was maybe in the toy news, maybe it was something else. But this week we're diving into some surge pricing. And a lot of people have seen primarily on Amazon. Angie, you probably witnessed this a time or two.
I don't pay attention.
She doesn't pay attention.
Spend your money.
She just spends it. She goes, I don't care. I was like, you could have got a deal. There was a coupon attached you could have got. But no.
No, I do that, you dork.
You did.
But I wouldn't notice if it went up by $1.
Oh, I would for sure. So anyways, long story short, Angie, on surge pricing here. Amazon, Target, a lot of things have surge pricing. Now let's dive into this. What exactly is surge pricing? The biggest example this week was Marvel Legends Incredible Hulk, the Maximum Hulk. It was $59.99, then all of a sudden it's $82. And it goes back to $59.99, goes back up to $82. So it's kind of playing a little bit of that bounce around.
It's like
game.
your book.
Like my book. Amazon does the same thing with my book. Sometimes it's $19.99, sometimes it's $16.99. You got to get a deal there. But what I do, and my pro tip for Amazon, anything I buy on Amazon, I find what I want, obviously, and then I add it to my cart. And then I usually don't buy it right away unless it's something you really have to buy away. I'll let it ride the wave in the cart for a little bit. It'll go up, maybe it'll go down. Usually it goes down because the algorithm is trying to get you to purchase it. And you'll get the thing in your cart. It's dropped by 68 cents. It's dropped by $2.
Lowest price in 30 days.
Lowest price in 30 days. It's trying to get you to buy, trying to do you to jump. Now, I would say that is the way to go. Another place is eBay. I do a lot of stuff on eBay, as many collectors do. I always add it to my want list or whatever it is called. Mm-hmm. And what'll happen, you wait a day, maybe you wait 10 minutes, you'll get an offer from the seller. So never jump in and buy right away. Mm-hmm. You'll get an offer from a seller. So we're seeing that a little bit with Amazon and the Targets of the world. And Amazon for this Hulk, as I talked about, it's going up and down based on demand. So it's like, oh, it's $82. Oh my gosh. Then you put it in your cart, or maybe you see a Facebook group post, hey, it's down to $59.99. Well, guess what? Oh man, I really wanted that Hulk. I saw it was going up to $82. I better just swoop in right now at $59.99. So it's a way to get you there with the algorithm. Now, talking about Amazon, talking about Target, but we could talk about grocery stores. You could talk about anything that has online deals. A lot of time, the pricing online is different than you will get in the store. Target is notorious for this. Mm-hmm. And a couple of years ago, I found out one of those things. If you have the Target app, and I remember telling you about this, Angie, at the time. I don't have it, but she does. You look up something in the app, and let's say Angie's sitting on the couch here at home looking up a new vacuum or whatever. It says it's $100. You go to the couch, it's $100. You get to the parking lot and you pull it up, all of a sudden it's $110, $120 because they have you there in the store. They have you closer. They know you're closer to making that purchase because you got your map, your location on your app. So I always recommend turn your location off for these apps because it's another way they track you and they track over your purchasing habits. As things are going more online shopping every single day, be it from groceries, be it to action figures, more online shenanigans are going on to get your money. That's what they're trying to do. The old brick and mortar still is there with, price declines, price raises, price drops, weekly ads. That stuff's all there. But online plays games as well. We're seeing it at Target right now with some of the WWE Mattel Legends. Some of the ones like Rick Rude, he's a little bit higher than some of the other ones. And it has to do with amount of stock status. That's one thing we're seeing as well. The online price was the online price. Now they realize, well, now Rick Rude, we got 10 left in the warehouse. We got 200 Bret Harts. Let's keep Bret Hart at $20. But Rick Rude, he's almost sold out. He's going to be gone. He'll be gone forever. Let's get all we can out of that Rick Rude figure. Let's raise it to $24.99 and get that extra $5 because it's limited stock. People will pay it. Maybe we won't sell as many as quick, but we'll sell it. We'll get $5 more. It is what it is. So you're going to start seeing that across the board from all these different retailers. And like I said, when you get the geolocating on or whatever, you get in that parking lot, they know they basically have you. Or even worse, you're inside the store, they know they have you. So you're stuck to the store price or even stuck to higher prices, depending. So the fact of the matter is it's all about algorithms. A perfect example the other day, Angie, I was booking my flights for San Diego, coming in hot to San Diego Comic-Con this year. I looked the night before. I think it was Friday night last week I was looking. It was like $92 for a flight. An incredible deal. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to book my ticket first thing in the morning. So I get up early. Was going to book my ticket. Well, guess what? I went to book my ticket. It was up to like $122. So that's what happens there is, and I swear it happens with flights all the time. Good friend of the channel, Jeff George, and I were talking about this. Whenever you look at a flight, that seems to be the lowest at the time. And then you go back to it. They know you're wanting it. They know you're eager for it. So they raise it a little bit more. I swear it's all algorithms at the end of the day. It's all about those algorithms. So you got to be careful what you're doing. And it'd be an interesting thing for science if you could do it on the data on your cell phone and then do it on your Wi-Fi. See if you get the same pricing, just depending on that. I don't know. It's an interesting tool, but we're going to see more and more of that in the future. Amazon seems to be really doing it right now on a lot of up and down pricing. And then Targets now are doing it. As things start dwindling down, they're going to charge a little bit more. So be careful out there. As we always say on the channel, on the podcast as well, got to get a deal. Do whatever you can. Like I said on eBay, put it in your cart or put it in your watch list. You'll probably get an offer if you're lucky. Amazon, stick it in your cart, sit on it for a while, see what happens. You got other places out there that maybe they'll have a discount as time goes on. It's just the waiting game and trying to buy before things run out. That's always the dangerous thing. So an interesting time in this surge pricing here. No matter which way you do it, just hopefully, like my wife, you get a deal, and you got to get a deal out there. So there it is.
If all else fails, you can just have your wife return it.
That is the other thing.
We rebuy and return.
That's the other thing I do is I'll pre-order it like a NECA Holothon turtle. I'll order it, and then 2 days later I find it in the store, and then you can't cancel it, so it comes in the mail, and I'll have Angie just go take it back.
And Target's annoying. They only let you price match for like a week, but we have a 120-day return.
Yes, so you got to do all the shenanigans.
We got to cheat the system.
A lot of shenanigans. So
a lot of running.
And that's where the shenanigans started this week with the Incredible Hulk being surge pricing on Amazon. But Angie, in a plot twist, now it's time for Figure of the Week. It's time for Figure of the Week, one of your absolute favorite segments, of course.
I got comfy for this
and
one.
She got comfy. She's sitting back. She's ready to go. Take your top off. Stay a while. We'll be okay with it. Nobody's going to complain, except those no good YouTube censors. That's what they're going to have.
I know.
Angie's going to do a Patreon exclusive one where she's going to do the episode topless. It's going to be amazing. That'll be quite the one. It might be the most viewed video. It could be, but
I won't even need to talk.
Won't even need to talk. But here we are, Angie, Figure of the Week. And this one, I guess, relates to what we were just talking a little bit about, because we were talking about the Incredible Hulk, Maximum Hulk from Marvel Legends surge pricing, and pick it up over at DJC Collectibles. Cheap plug for them. But the Incredible Hulk is actually the Figure of the Week this week. And this week, I picked this one because there is a little bit of news out of this company here. It is Incredible Hulk from Diamond Select, Marvel Select, which I've always called them here. A big, beefy Hulk. And Angie, my absolute favorite Incredible Hulk figure of all time, at least as of right now. I love this Hulk. It came out a couple of years ago. Just an all-timer of a Hulk. And this is what I think of when I close my eyes late at night. And I think of the Incredible Hulk. This is my Hulk. I love how big and beefy it is. And the cool thing about Hulk is he can be different sizes. So this works with your Marvel Legends, works obviously with your other Diamond Select, Marvel Select figures. Put it in with your McFarlanes. It's a very versatile Hulk. So this one works a lot for me. A favorite of mine. There's also a Red Hulk version of this. But that's where it's going to end, unfortunately, as the word did finally come this week that Diamond Select, Marvel Select, but Diamond Select, the one that manufactures it, delivers comic books, all kinds of stuff. It's a big, big retail arm, has filed for bankruptcy, is going out of business. They could not find a buyer. A buyer fell through. It's the end of the road, Jack. And don't you look back no more, no more, no more is what I've been told. So there's no more Marvel Select figures. Marvel Select up and down, some really good, some a little bit rough. Obviously, the bigger figures are one I like. I'm waiting to see, are the Annihilus figure? I guess that's never going to come out now. I'm not exactly sure. But I believe
I'm devastated.
Yeah, I know you are. I broke this news to you. I've been keeping it from Angie for a while. I just didn't want her to be, her mood ruined or stuff. I wanted it to just be here today. So you got her natural reaction, how thrilled she was about this. But we also know from Diamond Select, they have statues like the AEW statues. We got Sting. I think there was a John Moxley, a Bryan Danielson, CM Punk. There was some of that kind of stuff. There was a lot of things out there for action figure collectors, comic collectors, you name it. So another one bites the dust. We had some tough Super 7 news as well. So things are getting really, really tough right now with all the tariffs and the tariffs going on out in the world. And a lot of that is being used for other reasons. And we've talked about that in the toy news on the, of course, YouTube channel as well. There's a lot of shenanigans going around and a lot of people using excuses for tariffs. And obviously there is some excuses that are brought off by the tariffs as well. But it's a kind of a murky area we're in right now in collectibles. And I guess you could say across the board, but specifically for the results of this channel, obviously action figures. But definitely murky waters, and going to be interesting to see who lasts, who falls. That's been kind of the talk the last couple of months. Some of these companies, especially the smaller ones, aren't going to make it through. But even the bigger ones like Diamond Select, and now we're seeing Super 7, who's not quite Marvel and Hasbro, going through some struggles as well. It's just an interesting time that we're going to keep track of course, in the toy news on my YouTube channel, and maybe a dash or two in the Kyle Peterson show, but not too much for Angie's sake, riveting. Of course. Yeah, exactly, riveting. But if you don't have this Hulk, Diamond Select, Marvel Select figure, I strongly recommend it. An all-timer, if there ever was one. So that, Angie, that is the figure of the week.
We love a figure that doesn't need a stand, too.
Yeah, it doesn't. No stand needed.
But why didn't he just like take this off and go for the jorts, you know?
Well, he ripped through them.
I know, but like you could have just got that last little bit off.
Ripped through, but there it is. But Angie, now it's time for Angie to really shine.
Oh, God.
And it is Memorial Day weekend as we're filming this right now. So Angie, it is time to try new foods because it might taste good.
Try a little bit of this and a little bit of that. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. We gotta try new food because they might taste good.
All right, Angie, it's time to try new foods because it might taste good. And Angie's back again 2 weeks in a row. We got all the new flavors coming out, Angie. What do we got this week?
I know, this week in 2 weeks in a row, we have the same thing.
2 weeks in a row, and I figured this
More Pringles.
More Pringles. Oh, my gosh. Once you pop, you can't stop, I think is what they say with these limited edition ones.
Grilled beer brat.
What kind of beer?
And beer can chicken. Both Miller Lite.
Beer can chicken and grilled what? What's the first one?
Beer can chicken and
grilled beer brat.
That's
so
a tongue twister.
2 weeks in a row with Pringles. Pringles coming out with all the new stuff, and I guess you try it once, then you move on from it. But Miller Lite, not really my beer of choice. Are you a Miller Lite girl?
No.
No, I was a Coors Light guy when I used to drink way back when, so I don't really drink beer. So you do, though. You were drinking Leinenkugels, I think she was drinking the other night.
Every time it warms up, I'm thinking, I'm a beer person, and I buy like a 6-pack, and then it takes me all summer to get through it. And I realize I don't really like drinking.
You get a 6-pack in Angie, and you won't believe what goes on, that's for sure. But an interesting twosome here, of course, the kickoff to Memorial Day weekend as we're filming right now. Obviously, it's past, but it's the same kind of magic going on. But this kind of makes sense. You're firing up the grill. Now you got the beer can chicken. You got the grilled beer brat. And I think I talked about last week, like a brat I like once a year, basically. And I think I got my fill last weekend. I made a few on the grill. Maybe at the end of the...
Do you actually put a beer can within like the cavity of the chicken?
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Okay,
Yeah.
I've never had that before.
Yeah, it helps it out. I've had it before. And the beer all gets smoked off. I never have the beer taste in that. It's just more of a... It's all
So
for
you
show.
kind of crack the can and shove the open part
Yeah,
in,
it's
or
just
what?
kind of for show is what it is. And then beer brats, I think a lot of people do put their brats in, like, they boil them in the beer or whatever is what they do. So... Interesting with Pringles. Pringle can, of course, always interesting. And I wish they'd make the Pringle can a little bit bigger because my hand, once you get down to here, I can never get my hand in there. I don't know why they make these a little bit thicker. Are these thin or too thick for you?
They're fine for me.
You could take this whole thing.
I have long fingers and extremely skinny hands.
So you could take this whole thing, no problem. You wouldn't like any more girth or anything to it? It's perfect
Way
for you?
too much girth.
Way too much girth, really. I bet you could make it disappear with your hand. I'm sure you could. But I can never get my hand down here, and then you're trying to do the slide out there, and the problem is then you got all these crumbs going everywhere. So we've had the same Pringles can probably long since before either of us were alive, and most of you. I think it's time for the evolution of the Pringle can. Maybe make it a little bit wider so you can get your hands in there. And guess what, Pringles? If you do that, you can probably go through a can faster, which means more repeat purchases. Just saying, from a retail genius right here.
Now
course.
they have the family size, so it's even taller.
I did
and skinnier.
see those.
They're still like the same.
They're like a party
Like the
party
small-
size or something. I saw those in the stores this week, so that was interesting.
We smoked the Philly cheesesteak from last week, but the hot dog's still in there.
Yeah, nobody likes the hot dog. And I actually took some of those Philly cheesesteak as I was waiting in the parent pickup line. And I actually ate through them, and I was disgusted with myself when I was eating them. I said, my breath is just terrible. They're not even that good. But once again, got to get a deal. I'm not going to waste these. I'm going to
The hot dog might become rat snacks.
Yeah, that's the thing. The rats take all the junky
When are we
snacks.
going to bring the rats in?
Never. They'll poop and pee all over my desk. All right, we're going to try it. Angie, grilled beer brat is our first one. We're going to rate it out of 5 here. Of course, got to give it the smell test.
What does that smell like? It's got a very distinct smell.
Wow, I can't believe how much smell they popped into this thing.
It's like a very distinctive smell, but
I don't know what it
pinpoint
is either, but it's not beer brat, but it is extremely potent.
Yeah.
That's no for me, dog.
Really?
I hate it.
It's very smoky.
I hate it. I don't know what it tastes like. I guess maybe Miller Lite. I don't know.
It's not that bad.
I always take 2 of them to try.
It's not that bad. I get like a barbecue taste. It's kind of smoky.
It's got a little tang on the end. I mean, it's edible, but I would never buy this again. I'd get barbecue or cheddar or sour cream over this any day.
All I can pick up is like a barbecue, like a smoky barbecue.
I don't taste Miller Lite, but I don't really remember what Miller Lite tastes like. And I don't taste a beer brat. I don't know.
I got nothing to say other than it tastes like barbecue.
What are you going to rate it out of 5?
Just a 1.
1 for me, too, and that's being generous. So don't recommend that one. But now, beer can chicken. Now, I like chicken more than brats, and I think you do as well. But you've been known to stuff a couple of brats down your mouth time or two. But I do like chicken more, so I'm hopeful the beer can chicken will at least get us a 2 or something. Let's see what happens.
I think they got a lot of seasoning on that one.
These don't smell at all. I can't smell anything. Mm-mm. So it's wild, the different smells between them. Look at you, just stuffing your mouth.
I thought you were going for it.
All right, let's go for it. There you go.
You're going 2 at once. 2 for.
Beer can chicken.
I think this one is worse. I don't know.
This tastes totally plain to me. Mm-hmm. The other one had at least a flavor. I couldn't pinpoint it, but this tastes plain. How much alcohol's in these? There's 1 gram of protein, 150 calories in these as well. 6 servings per container, about 14 crisps.
That's poo-poo caca.
Poo-poo caca, wow.
I don't like that. It's just like nothing but actually gross at the same time.
Both a 1 for me.
Yeah.
The beer brat actually had a taste I couldn't really pinpoint. Those just tasted like plain Pringles to me. And they didn't have a smell to them either.
The brat one's way better. Not way better, but it's better.
You're eating them. You're going to add your brat and hot dog. Get all of them at you.
Or just sprinkle them on the broth.
Terrible. I don't recommend them. So hopefully I guys saved you guys some money. It's all about getting a deal here on the channel. So hopefully I saved you some money. If you want some Pringles, go with the old favorites is what I would say. Because you know how they do it. They put out these new items all the time, hoping to catch you and at least get one sale. And then they move on from them. They're disappeared forever. So rough go. Next week, we'll see what happens. I did grab some new chips from Frito-Lay, so we'll see. We might try those next week, or there might be something else new that comes in and steals our hearts, and we try it.
I'm ready for something tasty.
Yeah, I am too. It's been a rough couple of weeks. Pringles, what are we doing? But
we never buy Pringles.
No, but Angie's in luck. I got something tasty for you after the show. I'll let you know. So there it is. That is Try New Foods here, of course, as we celebrate Memorial Day weekend, as we're filming this once again. But now it's time for an all-timer, a story Angie's never heard. It's time for Story Time with Kyle. All right, it's time for Story Time with Kyle and Angie. Last week was the first ever Story Time with Kyle, at least here on the podcast, as we're going to bounce around between Tales from Retail and Story Time with Kyle. as we go through the weeks. But it is the kickoff to summer once again for Memorial Day. It's Memorial Day. We're talking about it in every single segment here. We're pumped up for the weekend, I guess. 3 days off. Sure, why not? Hopefully, fingers crossed.
By the time you see this, it's already over.
By the time you see this, it's already over.
We're back to the grind.
But back to the grind for sure. But whenever I think of the kickoff to summer, I always remember back to my childhood. So a little story time with Kyle right here. Obviously, great time to get out of school. That was always exciting. There's 2 days of school left. There's 1 day of school left. I'm free from school. I was one of those kids, like most hopefully were, that wanted to get the heck out of Dodge and get out of school and celebrate the summer.
You weren't crying on the
No, I was not crying. Like my kids are hugging their teacher and crying. I'm like, I didn't even say bye to my teacher. I bolted out. I tried to climb out the window is what I tried to do. I had no time for any of that. So
you're like throwing all your stuff in the air.
Get me out of here. I had no time for school. That was the last thing I wanted to do. But I'd be excited for summer. But unfortunately, as a kid, my best friend who I'd hang out with, he lived around the corner, and you play in the neighborhood, you play and all that kind of stuff. It was always a little bit bittersweet for me because he had to leave come summertime. He would leave for the whole summer, and his family owned like a bar restaurant in the Ozarks, of course, down in, I guess, Missouri, I guess is where they are, southern Missouri. So he'd be gone for the whole summer, and it's like, it was bittersweet. It's great to be out of school, but then your best buddy you hang out with, you watch wrestling, play video games with, was leaving for the whole summer. And it was weird. He was like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. He would leave every single summer, and he would go work in his family business. Now, one thing you can do if you own a business, it's not like child labor laws. Your kids can work for you. So I think he bussed tables and cleaned dishes and did that stuff as a kid out there, where I was collecting cans and delivering the shopper newspaper and putting little things on people's door hooks for like lawn services to get paid as a little kid to get some spending money at like 10, 11, 12 years old. But he was working in these kitchens down in the Ozarks. So I can only imagine how crazy that was. So it was a little bit rough, and he would leave. But he would come back like with 2 weeks left in the summer. At the end of August, he would come back before school starts. And it would be amazing because he would get so much money working down there. And he wouldn't spend it because he was down there working in this restaurant all summer. I mean, just crazy for a little kid. But he would come back with thousands of dollars, like $2,000 or $3,000 for the whole summer. And back when you're a kid, heck, you give $3,000 to my kids, they'd be like, oh my gosh. I'd be like, oh my gosh, if somebody handed me $3,000. Maybe I wouldn't be too happy if I worked a whole summer, though, for $3,000 in this day and age. That'd be a little bit rough for me. I don't know if that math would check out. But back then when you're a kid, it definitely checked out. And it was always really cool because his parents, for whatever reason, weren't like, hey, put that $3,000 towards a college account. Put it towards saving for a car or something in the future. They're like, it's your money. Do whatever you want with it. And oh, boy, I'd be ready to go. So we would go out, and obviously he would pick up the tab on everything. And we'd go out and spend and just go crazy. Now, put yourself back into the time here, the 80s, 90s. Little kids, you don't have cars. You have a bicycle. But instead, we walked. So we walked to the mall is what we did. And it was the old Valley West Mall, of course. Okay. And I wanted to say it was maybe 3 miles from our house, probably from our neighborhood, maybe probably at least 3 miles. I mean, it was probably an hour long, longer than an hour. I don't know. It was a long walk. So it was far enough where you really should get a ride. But you know what? We would get up early that morning, and he comes back in town. He's got all the money. It's all fanned out here like the $1 Million Man. It's just going there. He's just full of it. I can't believe it. Little kids walking around.
He brings it all with him.
Yeah, he brought it all with him. It would all be in there, be in his pockets and everything. Just wild stuff. God. But we walked the miles and miles to the mall. We hung out at the mall all day. And nowadays they'd say, you 9-year-old kids can't be in the mall by yourself. Get out of here. But back then they didn't care. And we would go to the record store, the bookstore, the KB Toys of the world, the Babbages and the EB Games and stuff, all game stores and all this kind of stuff. And then, we'd get lunch. There would be all this. So we'll get through it all here. But we would go to this, and he'd have all this money. And, oh, yeah, you want an ice cream cone? Yeah, I'll take an ice cream cone. Yeah. You want to get lunch? You want to get McDonald's? Yeah, let's get McDonald's. And we were just eating and just hanging out. And money was no worry. It was an amazing thing. And, he's just throwing it around because he doesn't care, because he doesn't. It is what it is. But the reason we went to the mall, and I believe it was Babbage's, and that's an old video game store back in the day. I don't think it's around anymore. You've never even heard of it. No, Angie, not much of a player, of course, at least in video games, that's for sure. But we needed to go to Babbage's because he had his eye on this before he left for the summer, and I did too. I knew I wasn't going to get it, but he did. And what did he want, Angie? Can you guess?
Game Boy or?
No, something you've never heard of once again.
I don't know.
He really wanted to get a TurboGrafx 16. You ever heard of that? You're like, what is a TurboGrafx 16? I
Sounds
barely
like a printer.
remember. It's an old video game system. So it was like a Nintendo or a Sega or something. It was one that really didn't take off. But there was this game called Bonk, and he thought Bonk was going to be a game changer. It was like a little caveman kid with a huge head, and he would like bonk all the animals and stuff. But he wanted this TurboGrafx 16, and it was probably like $300. And back then,
that's pocket change.
Yeah, it was pocket change. But that's what we did. He wanted to get that TurboGrafx 16. And one thing I will say about him leaving for the whole summer, one thing that was nice about it was he had the G.I. Joe Defiant, which was the huge space shuttle. I had the aircraft carrier. He had the Defiant, the huge space shuttle. And he said, hey, I'm leaving for the summer. If you want to borrow it for the summer, you can. So I got to have that in my collection for the whole summer. So that was bittersweet, my friend leaving, but it was pretty nice in my playing days to have the Defiant to get to play with that free of charge for the summer. But long story short, we went to Babbage's. He got the TurboGrafx 16. So you imagine these two little kids, and you got the whole entertainment system. You know, you're carrying this thing
whole
around.
Gaming console.
Yeah, it's a huge gaming console. We didn't even fit in a sack. I remember that. We couldn't even get a sack for it because it was too big. So we're lugging this thing around. You got a couple of games. You got Bonk and some other game. So we're carrying this around the mall. Then we go to KB and we bought a few things there. And then there was a baseball card shop. Or no, we walked across the street. It was like a drugstore. It was called Farmore. You ever heard of Farmore? I only remember that one location. I think it was a chain. I'm not exactly sure. But we go over to this Farmore, and of course, kids like toys. They like video games. They also like trading cards. And him and I were big into trading cards. He bought a couple of boxes of NBA hoops back in the day. So we got, it was like 32 packs of cards in a case. So we bought like 2 of those. So of course we buy these and we get some candy, we get some drinks, and we have so much stuff we're carrying. And it's kind of like those bicycle riders that, they drive out, they ride their bike 100 miles one direction, and then they forget, wait a minute, I got to drive 100 miles back. Yeah. And that's where we were. We're out there all day long. We're carrying all this stuff, the thing, and it's all heavy. We're little kids. And for some reason, I don't know who, it probably wasn't my idea, but it had to have been his. Hey, let's sit on the curb in the parking lot and let's open up all these packs of cards. So we sat there with 2 cases of cards and we're opening them, all the packs of cards, and we're going through them all and looking and, we got this, we got that, we got this. And then, all the wrappers was easy enough to throw away in the garbage outside of the pharmacy. But then we have all these cards. And we remember the box of card came in like a shoebox thing, and it lifted up so you can put them in there. But now we got all these loose cards, and we have the TurboGrafx 16, and we got a couple extra toys, the extra video games, and a few things. I think he bought like some clothes. I remember he bought a pair of shoes as well. And we're carrying all this stuff around, and we're literally an hour plus walk from our house. And now there's no cell phone back in here. There's no beepers. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing we can do. So we start walking, and we're tired. It's hot in the summer. It's August. It's sweltering. It's like 90 degrees. We're dying. We're just absolutely dying. And so what we did is, it ended up being by my high school many years later. But there was this big bushes. There was like a dentist office, and there was all these bushes around it. Those bushes that are kind of 5 feet tall, big circular bushes, and you can't really see underneath them. And we were like, we're never gonna get all this stuff home. It's just too far, and there's no way to get a hold of anybody. So we made the decision right then and there that we were going to hide all the stuff in the bushes, is what we're going to do. The TurboGrafx 16, the extra pair of shoes, all the candy, everything we ended up picking up, we stuffed it kind of underneath the bushes, and we just sat there like, what do we do now? What do we do now? And we decided now, this is a full day event. We left the house at like 8 a.m. and the mall opened at like 10, and it took us a while to get there, but we were excited. We needed to get there. We wanted to go get a Cinnabon.
Hours later, no one was worried either.
Yeah, no one was worried.
Your parents didn't know you were gone.
Nobody even knew we left, I don't think. So, and this is wild too, the old Johnny Gosh story, right in the same kind of area too. So who knows? We could have been kidnapped. And that's a story for another story time with Kyle. But we were sitting there and we decided we got to hoof it home because we need to get back with a parent to help us get all this stuff, because we just spent hundreds of dollars he did. I didn't. He did. And we had to get home soon. So what did we do? We were about halfway home. We just hit everything and we sprinted. We sprinted and ran all the way home. And we were huffing and puffing. And we got to my house because my house was closer. And luckily, I think my dad was just pulling in the driveway from a hard day at work, of course.
In his tie.
Yeah, in his tie, suit and tie, of course. That's what it was back then. And I remember running up to, Dad, Dad, and I tried to, in all intents and purposes, I talked to my dad the other day. I said, Dad, I want you to come on the channel and talk through this story about what was your thought of these kids. And he refused, said he wasn't going to be on the podcast, wasn't going to tell the story. But I think he said something like, you guys are idiots or something like that. I think it was what he said. But we were like, Dad, you got to take us. We got to go. We got to go to by the school and pick all this stuff up. So we slam in my dad's car. We drive to the spot where we got the bushes, where we hid everything.
Where we got the bushes.
So, Angie, what do you think happened when we got to the bushes?
Oh, God, I think everything was still there.
Everything was still
thank
there.
God.
It was a different time and place, of course. However, there was a little bit of a travesty.
Oh, no.
And it was very disappointing for two card collector kids. Of course, obviously, cards, you want them in good condition. You don't want them bent up.
Oh, gosh.
What happened in that time frame? Kind of a storm came. I don't remember rain of any kind, but the wind picked up. And what happened to all these cards? We had them in there, but for whatever reason, they blew open. And the parking lot of like the dentist office we hid everything into, there was cards throughout the whole parking lot. And we're just sitting there losing our mind. Like, obviously, we probably just didn't put them away very well. But cards all over the parking lot. So we're running. Even my dad's helping out. We're picking up all these cards out of the parking lot, put them back in there. And, of course, a lot of them dinged and dented. Very unfortunate times, of course. But thankfully, the TurboGrafx 16 was the one we were really, really nervous around. We needed to play Bonk that night. We needed a hot game of Bonk.
You needed a shower and a round of Bonk.
Yeah, and I don't even think we had time for a shower. We had to get into bonking. Just kind of like you and me. We just got to get down to bonking right away.
You always shower first.
I shower first. Get real
you.
clean. Yes, of course. But yeah, Bonk was an all-timer of a game that's not very fondly remembered. You never even heard of it. So that tells you about Bonk. That tells you about TurboGrafx 16. But we played it all that night. I don't know if you ever bought any more games for TurboGrafx 16. I think most people moved on to Super Nintendo and
It probably went out of
Sega.
business.
Yeah, I don't think it lasted. But Bonk is still there. You Google him, you'll find a little bit about Bonk. But it was a wild time for two kids just running crazy on the town with really feeling like unlimited funds. And even funner for me, I didn't have to work for it. I just got to be a part of the celebration. But a wild time, a bit of a scary time, and man, we were sweating it. And thankfully, my dad, always the salt of the earth, of course, willing to drive us there to get us those figures, or the cards and the TurboGrafx 16. And the shoes, don't forget the shoes as well.
Pretty sad the most wined and dined you've ever been is by a 10-year-old friend.
It was the most wine and dine I've ever been. And I hope there's a challenge for you in there to wine and dine me, 69 me, maybe too, who knows. But hopefully one of these days you'll do some things. And maybe I've been thinking about reenacting this moment one of these days as well. Hiding something like that, see if we can make that happen. And I've told this story to our daughters before, and they just look at me like I'm from a different planet. First off, they would never get up in the morning. They don't care how much money is involved. They wouldn't walk to the mall. They'd be too scared to walk to the mall. Different times in the 80s and 90s, different times. And if you lived it, you know all about it, of course. And you know a little bit about it living out in the country. Kind of. Yeah, she'd go slop the hogs and feed the chickens. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh, my God.
But there it is. An interesting time. And whenever I think of summertime, especially my childhood, that was one of those ones that really stuck out to me. All these years later, here you go. So there it is. Story time with Kyle. But now, Angie, we've got an extra special one. 20-year anniversary. It's time for Album of the Week. All right, Angie, it's time for Album of the Week. And this week we got something special. And in all honesty, friends of ours here we're talking about today. It is the band The Sound of Urchin. Now, not everybody knows The Sound of Urchin. I understand that. A deep cut band. And taking it back to my high school, college days, I was a huge fan, and still am to this day, of the band called Ween. And most people have maybe heard Ween, maybe seen the It's Pat movie. Ween, an all-timer. I'm a longtime fan, seen so many concerts over the years. Always enjoyed it. But when you really love bands, you like the ancillary bands, the bands that are the offshoots from that a little bit. And one of those bands was and is The Sound of Urchin. Now, Sound of Urchin celebrating 20-year anniversary here in the month of May of their album, The Diamond. And Angie's actually got the Sound of Urchin shirt on. She did
Barely.
She's got quick change here.
This thing's 20 years old. I can't believe I even got it on.
20 years ago, we got that shirt, of course. But their album, The Diamond, I would say their most popular album to this day. They've had a few more albums, but they are Ween adjacent, as Dean Ween did help produce their first album. You Are the Best. Definitely check that out. Check out the Orange EP, Jack and Diane EP. Rejoice album is amazing. A lot of good stuff from Tomato, The Reverend Be Ill, Doo Doo Brown, Scotty Chalk, my boy Robbie Seahag. And last time I saw Robbie Seahag, he got me into Sean Lennon's concert. Yes, John Lennon's son, as Robbie Seahag was also Sean Lennon's guitarist. So I got in there, got to hang out with Robbie a little bit. It's been a while since we've seen the Sound of Urchin, though. They have not toured. They've kind of been on a hiatus with a few shows every once in a while here and there. But this year, celebrating the 20th anniversary of their album, The Diamond, which is the album of the week this week. An absolute favorite album. Now, Angie, how many times do you think we saw the Sound of Urchin on the Diamond tour?
We were like groupies.
We were. We had no kids. We had nothing really going on, and nothing going on. We were just really bored. But we would just say, hey, they're playing lacrosse, Wisconsin tonight. Let's just drive up to lacrosse, and we would go see them. And then, oh, they're playing in Minnesota tomorrow. Let's just go see them in Minnesota. And then we go to Omaha. We go to Des Moines. We go all over Illinois, no matter what. We even went to New York City. Yes, New York City, and we went to their boat show in 2025. Of course, the Diamond Boat Show there. And it was on.
It's like we didn't go in 2025. What? You said we went in 2025.
Oh, 2000. Oh yeah, 2005 is where we went. Yeah, that's right. Not 2025. That's this year. 2005, we went to New York City and
plot twist. We're going next week.
Yeah, plot twist. No.
They might have one.
Who knows? But we went out there. We did go to their boat show. It was like a boat basically, and they played the show on there. We went around the Statue of Liberty, all over the place, and got to rock out on the sea, I guess is what we did.
I remember going on that boat, but I don't remember them playing. Like, oh, wow. I think I was pretty toast.
She was annihilated. Just annihilated. Oh, man. But it was a wild time in New York City, you know, cruising around, seeing all kinds of crazy people out and about and stuff. A lot of good times with the Sound of Urchin. I don't remember really much around that New York City thing. I remember... we stayed at a hotel. Yeah, we stayed at a hotel. I remember that was our first time in New York City, and I remember just it was August, so it was extremely hot. And I remember it was like garbage day when we got there, and I just couldn't believe all the garbage piled up on the streets. And it was super hot. There was no wind. Obviously, a bunch of buildings downtown. So all the smog from the traffic and stuff just kind of captured on your face. And I'll never forget, after a full day walking, exploring the city, going back to the hotel, getting like a washcloth and wiping my face, and just pure black from like the smog. It was almost like I was diving in charcoal or something like that. Gosh. I just remember being gross. And I remember I only brought one extra shirt, saying, oh, I won't need to change. Literally, I wanted to change about 5 times a day because it was super hot and you were super dirty from all that. Obviously, we bought some shirts from the band and stuff, so we did have a few extra shirts along the way. But it was a wild time in New York City, a wild time on the boat, and a wild time with the Sound of Urchin. And I remember the Sound of Urchin back, and we're going to tell this story here. My birthday is next month, and I'm going to tell the story of my 21st birthday. And I remember being very excited to get Rolling Rock beer. That was going to be my first ever purchase, because the Sound of Urchin were in the Rolling Rock beer commercials back then. So we were very excited about that, or I was excited. I didn't know you at the time, but I'm sure you would have been excited if you were there. But I remember wanting to buy that night, and I did in a plot twist. We'll explain that here in about a month on the show. So be ready for my story of my 21st birthday. But a lot of good times with the Sound of Urchin, a lot of amazing stuff. Some hard rock, heavy metal. I mean, they've had Jack Black perform with them before. They've been known for a lot of amazing Rush covers, Slayer covers, as well as their own material. Definitely not all heavy metal, though, but definitely worth checking out. If you're a fan of Ween, you're going to enjoy the Diamond. A lot of great songs on the Diamond album. There's even a deluxe edition all these years later. Howlin' at the Moon, Last December, White Dove, People in the Clouds, the Jack-O-Lantern. And I remember during this album cycle, they were actually on the Craig Ferguson show once upon a time. And I remember that was such a huge deal to be able to watch them on Craig Ferguson. So Tomato obviously is one of the cool things about the Sound of Urchin, and not many bands have, is the drummer is also the singer. That is extremely hard to do. And the Sound of Urchin, I've seen them perform for hundreds of people, and we've seen them perform for like 10 people in a bar before. And they give you the same show no matter which way you do it. So Tomato, all-time leader. It is Tomato, the leader of the band, the drummer there. But look him up on social media. Look up the Sound of Urchin. I'm guessing most people have never heard of them. The Diamond's amazing album, You're the Best. The Jack and Diana EP is a favorite of mine as well. A lot of good stuff to check out. Angie, I don't know if you have anything to add to all that. I just rambled and rambled.
Their shows were the best, though, because they would play the album top to bottom.
Yep.
He wouldn't stop. I mean, and it sounded exactly like the album, and he would go song to song, no breaks. He was just pouring sweat by the end.
And it was cool that we were friends with them all. I mean, there was a lot of good times, after the show, hanging out, partying, you know, going around, going to grab dinner or whatever. It was just a really cool thing. Just a lot of cool stuff over the years. Like going to see him, I remember it was like my 25th birthday. I remember we went down to Lawrence, Kansas and saw him perform down there once upon a time. Just a lot of cool stuff. And one time it was really awesome is they let me do the set list. And that was one thing I loved about Sound of Urchin. And I love bands like that play a different songs every night. They don't just have, it's going to be the same. I love Iron Maiden, but it's the same set list every single night for the tour. Sound of Urchin all over the place. Obviously, they're going to play a lot of the same songs, but there's 10 songs in there that change out every single night. And I remember they let me do the set list one time. And I thought that was so cool that I got to create the set list, put it in the order I wanted it to be as well. So a lot of fun around that. But just a lot of good times of our early times together when we first just met each other. First couple of years of our relationships, really just hanging out, following them around, going around the Midwest, and just other shenanigans throughout the time. So I can't believe it's 20 years since that album came out.
I can't believe this shirt still. I got this shirt on.
Yeah.
Am I able to get it off?
Take it off. Take it off. Why not? But and this is one of the softest shirts ever. I still wish I wish more companies use this material, whatever it is. It's an amazing soft shirt. I mean, it's just amazing. Just amazing. So shout out to that shirt company, whatever it is.
Yeah, if it didn't have that spandex in it, I wouldn't be able to get it on.
Who knows? But there it is. I'd say give the Sound of Urchin. Do you have a favorite Sound of Urchin song if you had to choose just one?
You know I'm terrible with
People in the Clouds,
names.
Bomb Me, Dracula Bite.
But my favorite lyric is you used to bring the sugar, now the lump is in your throat. I always love that. I thought that was such an interesting way to say like a turn of like how a relationship goes from like so sweet to... He's a very unique lyricist. He says something at face value. It can seem kind of like cheesy and funny, but if you really like think about it,
look at you.
It's meaningful.
And you get deep.
The older I get, I'm like, he was really on a like anxiety, bipolar. He went top to bottom in this album.
Angie always wants it a little bit deeper. She always wants it a little deeper, that's for sure.
You know I'm a lyricist. I always dissect them.
I just can't wait till we drop our first album. Hopefully people enjoy that as well, but we're working on it.
Our first album.
Our first album.
Our first porno. No, I'm kidding.
Whoa.
Our first recording.
So there it is.
Oh my God.
The Diamond. Sound of Urchin, 20th anniversary this week for the album of the week. And now, Angie, we got to take it home. We got to bring home this episode of the podcast. All right, Angie, time to take it home. Time to finish up episode number 9 of the Kyle Peterson Show. Memorial Day edition, I guess we'll call this one here. But we do have a few more reviews to read this week, and I'll read these reviews. Always appreciate anybody that gives it a 5-star review, of course, on your podcast platform of choice. And we will give away a copy of the book here in a second. But I wanted to just read some of these reviews. This one coming in from Brian Breaker, good friend of the channel. Shout out to the old TB Toycast out there. Brian Breaker says, it's Cape season, and isn't it? It always is. Excellent podcast, and I love all the figure unboxings. Keep up the good work. So shout out to Brian over there.
I don't know what that means. What does it mean?
What?
Cape season.
Lando Calrissian in Cape season? I'll have to fill her in later, I guess. She doesn't know about Cape season. She has not watched any of my videos. That's for sure right there, if that's true. Next review comes from Jonathan Hodap, 5 stars. Once again, Angie. I watch on your YouTube instead of Apple Podcasts, but always tons of laughs. As one of those 14-year-old kids who worked in many departments in a grocery store as well, the tales of your time there bring back so many memories. How we survived, no one will know. LOL, but great pod and keep the pod streak alive. Can we make it to 10 double digits next week? We'll find out if we can do that there. And then the last review this week here from Shane Burkett. All killer, no filler, like a young Sum 41 back in the day. I've been a fan of Kyle's content and a Patreon member for a while, so it's awesome to get more content from him, especially when he covers new and different subjects away from our beloved action figures. Angie is an added bonus, and dare I say that they are the modern dynamic duo. Oh, how about that? Batman and Robin. I wish I had 2 more hands so I could give 4 thumbs up. Oh my God. There you go. But that's where the toes come in. Just ask Todd McFarlane. He'll tell you. You get the toes there. And Shane Burkett, you were last, but you were the one that drew the name out of the hat. I will send a copy of the book your way. So I appreciate the support out there. Appreciate everybody that picked up the book. Appreciate everybody that's doing the reviews out there. And we'll do some more giveaways in the future as well. But quite the week out there in the reviews. So I appreciate all that. Angie's still waiting for Angie's review of the podcast as well. Hopefully she'll give it 5 stars. We'll see what ends up happening there. But now, Angie, it is time for the question of the week. Angie, take it away. Okay. You get to read it. Put on your cheaters.
SGD_toys down under. Kyle, can you give me some music recommendations? I like the most known Motorhead songs, Ace of Spades and The Game. What other Motorhead stuff might I like? I mostly enjoy new wave British and power metal, but dabble in other genres. Not a fan of black metal, though.
Yeah, I'm not
I can't even do it.
Angie can do it. You're thinking death metal.
Oh, death metal.
But I don't like black metal either. If I can't read the band's logo, I don't want any part of it.
What's
I don't
the
think.
difference?
Oh, well, I'll show you later. I'll show you a little Cape season. I'm going to show Angie the world later tonight is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a run of the world of all kinds. You're going to find out so many experiences. And you know
and it'll only take 5 minutes.
No, it won't. 2 minutes. But I have this question here. Ace of Spades, obviously, I am very biased to Motorhead, so you can't go wrong anywhere across the board for Motorhead, if you ask me. But some of my favorite albums, and Ace of Spades isn't even my favorite album. It's their most popular song, of course, their most known song. But shortly after that, there was an album called Another Perfect Day. And I was only a year or so old when that came out, so it's been a while, obviously. And I wasn't a fan when I was 1 year old, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. But a lot of hardcore fans did not like that album. They felt Motorhead changed their sound too much. But now, all these years later, a lot of people love Another Perfect Day. So I strongly recommend that one there. A little Thin Lizzy influence in that one as well. But that is definitely one to check out. There's an album before that called Rock and Roll, which I do enjoy as well. You really can't go wrong with the original trio of Motorhead way back when. However, even the later trio with Mickey D and Phil Campbell, still amazing stuff. Bad Magic, The World Is Yours, some of the later Lemmy and Motorhead stuff right before it was the end of the show. Really good stuff as well. But I'd say give Rock and Roll a spin. Another Perfect Day. Bad Magic, The World Is Yours. Hammered, you probably heard that one as well. It's got the game on there if you got the deluxe edition. I also should bring up 1916. I think a lot of people outside of Ace of Spades think the Motorhead album 1916 is probably one of their absolute best, and it really is right up there. So there's a lot of good stuff in the Motorhead catalog. A lot of albums, a lot of live albums. There's a lot to keep you busy, that's for sure. I envy new fans that are just getting into Motorhead now. You just get to listen to all that stuff for the first time. Hearing it for the first time ever is pretty cool. But also, whenever I hear new wave of British heavy metal, and that's my absolute favorite, so many gems in there, so many forgotten classics. Possibly, in my opinion, the most underrated album of all time, and nobody's ever heard of the band, nobody's ever heard the album, but I strongly recommend it. It is the band called Demon, not Night Demon, but Demon, and the album is Night of the Demon. So it gets a little confusing. Of course, we're a Night Demon channel over here as well. But Demon, Night of the Demon, an absolute all-timer, one of the greatest albums of all time. If you've never heard that album, I strongly recommend it. I do think that album would have been a lot bigger than it was, but the album cover being like hands on a grave and stuff, it looks like what you think of with death metal. It's like Cannibal Corpse. And I think the album cover turned a ton of people off to it, but the music sounds nothing like the album cover. It's a very strange headspace dynamic right there. But I strongly recommend Night of the Demon by Demon as a big music choice. And I can talk music all day long, but I'll keep it at that. How about that?
Or you could just take a right turn and listen to Sound of Urchin, like we were talking about.
I could, yeah. We could go back to the Sound of Urchin, too. Shout out to my boy, Doo-Doo Brown, Tomato, the Reverend B. Ill, and, of course, Robbie Seahag, once upon a time. Scotty Chalk as well. Why not? We'll go on all day long. What's up, my man Tomato, as one might say. But there it is, Angie. That's episode 9. I think we got it all out there on the table for everybody.
My boobs didn't fall out or nothing?
No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe later. We'll see. But there it is, Angie. Any final thoughts on this episode? Are you ready for episode 10 next week?
Yes.
And what can we do for episode 10? Anything special? We're going to have to sit here and think and storyboard something. It's a monumental milestone, episode 10 here. On our way to 100, and that's where we're quitting, so be ready.
When I was making sure we were level, I was sitting there, and I thought I looked pretty cute there.
Oh, you want to switch and you run the show? I would love.
You'll still run it, but just from here.
I wouldn't mind seeing. Let's see Angie run the show.
And then I'm going to do it in sweatpants.
We'll do that maybe for episode 100. We'll have it where Angie runs the whole show. I'm not even wearing any pants or underwear today.
I'm going to wear my glasses.
I'm just wearing socks. Nothing but socks under behind here. Nobody will ever know. Nobody will know. But there it is, Angie. Episode 9 of the podcast. We'll do it again. We'll be back next week with episode 10. make sure you check it out. Make sure you always thumbs up the video. Make sure you do get the 5-star review, as I did say. Check out the book. Check out the Patreon. Check out the YouTube channel memberships. Check out Angie's OnlyFans.
No.
You wish. Well, it could be easily started, I'm sure. I just don't know if we need to
I wish
that.
I had that money. The OF money, but
Yeah,
I don't
or
want to do anything.
you'd be one of those ones that start the OF and nobody pays. And you're like, man, you kidding me? I did all this work and nobody... Or you got one subscriber and you're having to do all this work for just one person. That would be extra creepy. And then a plot twist, it was me. You'd be like, oh, I'm going to do all this work.
You could have got it all for free.
Yeah, I could have got it for free, but I felt bad, so I wanted to pay some money. I know how it goes. So there,
make me feel better.
I'll make you feel better. I'll make you feel better right here shortly.
Nice.
Shortly after the show, I'll make you feel real better. So we get all this stuff off of here. But there it is, Angie, for episode 9 of the Kyle Peterson Show. We're going to both see you guys all real soon.
Well, are we gonna dance or are we gonna play?